A Letter to God by G.L. Fuentes. The house, the only one in the entire valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. From this height one could see the river and the field of ripe corn dotted with the flowers that always promised a good harvest. The only thing the earth needed was a downpour, or at least a shower. Throughout the morning, Lencho, who knew his fields intimately, had done nothing else but see the sky toward the northeast. Now we are really going to get some water, woman. The woman who was preparing supper replied, yes, God willing. The older boys were working in the field, while the smaller ones were playing near the house until the woman called to them all, come for dinner. It was during the meal that, just as Lencho had predicted, big drops of rain began to fall. In the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching. The air was fresh and sweet. The man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. And when he returned, he exclaimed, these aren't raindrops falling from the sky. They are new coins. The big drops are 10-cent pieces and the little ones are 5s. With a satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers draped in a curtain of rain. But suddenly, a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. These truly did resemble new silver coins. The boys, exposing themselves to the rain, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. It's really getting bad now, exclaimed the man. I hope it passes quickly. It did not pass quickly. For an hour, the hail rained on the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, on the whole valley. The field was white, as if covered with salt. Not a leaf remained on the trees. The corn was totally destroyed. The flowers were gone from their plants. Lencho's soul was filled with sadness. When the storm had passed, he stood in the middle of the field and said to his sons, a plague of locusts would have left more than this. The hail has left nothing. This year we will have no corn. Lencho was an ox of a man, working like an animal in the fields, but still he knew how to write. The following Sunday at daybreak, he began to write a letter, which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. It was nothing less than a letter to God. That's the kind of faith I was talking about earlier. So in this part of the story, as we see, Lencho is a poor farmer. He lives with his wife and children in a lone house in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a valley. Since the house was on the edge of a hill, he could not see the river really and the field of ripe corn. The family knew that if there was sufficient rain, they would have a good harvest. And like a good farmer, Lencho knew his fields really well. And he kept looking towards the sky, hoping that the rain would come down. And he even communicated this to his wife. The wife agreed with Lencho. She called her children and her husband for dinner. That is when big drops of rain began to fall. They could see huge mountains of clouds approaching from the northeast. Lencho went out with joy into the rains. He returned exclaiming that the raindrops were in fact new coins. The big drops are like 10-cent pieces and the little ones are like 5s. What do you think? Was it actually raining money? Now, the author used it as a metaphor. For Lencho, the raindrops were nothing less than money itself, because let's be honest, the rain would give him a good harvest, which in turn would give him a huge amount to save for his family, to cut off the hunger for a whole year. Yeah? But poor Lencho's happiness, it never lasted long. Suddenly, there was a strong wind that began to blow. And along with this rain, the hailstones began to fall. And they looked like actual new silver coins. Lencho's boys ran out to collect the frozen pearls. But Lencho was really worried now. He hoped that the hail just came and went very quickly. You see, hailstones are not really conducive to a corn crop or to crops in general for that matter. And as fate could have it, the hail continued for an hour and destroyed everything. It destroyed all the corn. Moreover, the field became white. Not a leaf remained on the trees, and the flowers were gone from the plants. Now, naturally, Lencho was very sad. He was devastated. After the storm passed, he commented that the hail had done so much damage that even a plague of locusts would not. He knew that they would just not have any corn for the whole year. The family spent a sorrowful night. They knew that they would go hungry without any corn. For them, all was not lost. They still had that little hope left, and that little hope was their faith in God. Lencho consoled his family, saying that no one dies of hunger. Now, that's not quite true for the farmers in India, is it? They do starve, some of them. But anyway, Lencho was as strong as an ox, as mentioned. Not only did he work like an animal in the fields, he also knew how to write. So then the following Sunday, he wrote a letter to God, which he would send by mail. He would go to the town for this. Later on, he wrote, God, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again and to live until the crop comes because the hailstorm. He addressed the envelope to God and went to town. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. What do you think? Will Lencho's faith in God be restored? Will his family go hungry? We're going to find out. In the next session, we are going to learn if Lencho's letter actually reaches God and if he does get a reply. Be sure to join me there. Until then, goodbye. TutorMate. For more amazing video lectures, download the free app on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store.